Welcome back to Worldview. Now, earlier in the show, you heard from Malcolm Ginsberg, editor of Business Travel News, and we talked briefly about the state of airports outside of metropolitan London. And one of the topics we touched on was the sale of Cardiff Airport by the airport management group TBI Albertis to the Welsh Government. Joining us now is Peter Phillips. He's head of an open web-based group called the Wales Air Network. It started as a discussion forum for those with an interest in air transport, and over the last 3 to 4 years has become a voice for aviation and political change across Wales. Now, Peter's a marketing and communication specialist by trade, and he's worked with several international airport authorities around the globe. These include Amsterdam Schiphol, Brisbane and Gold Coast International in Australia, and he was one of the founding members of the European Regional Airline Association. Peter Phillips, welcome to Worldview.
Thank you. Hi.
Welcome. Now, we've talked a little bit about what's going on in Cardiff, and you and I have had some conversations as well. Perhaps for those who aren't aware, give us a little bit of a history lesson of where Cardiff was in terms of traffic just a couple of years ago, and what has happened gradually over the last 2 years.
Okay, Cardiff was the founding airport of a group called TBI, which is a Welsh-based property group. Their success in building Cardiff Airport up meant that they then acquired other airports around the world. And so Cardiff was the cash generator, the founding aspect of what became for Wales a truly global operator.
Okay, and so I'm sorry?
Yeah, so that company decided to sell up, and it was acquired by Albertis, which is a Spanish infrastructure group, mainly in toll roads and satellite infrastructure. They took over some 7 or 8 years ago, and their impact was years ago, at which point the airport had grown to 2.1 million passengers a year, had flights to Canada, to the Caribbean, to the United States, and right across Europe. Over the last 4 to 5 years, there seems to have been a dead hand on the airport. And although, yes, we have had a change in the economy that's fairly massive, Cardiff has suffered far more than any other airport in the UK, other than perhaps Bournemouth. And yet Cardiff is a capital city airport. It should not have gone this way. So there have been a lot of critics about the whole way in which this airport has been managed, marketed, priced, approached generally. We've pointed at a lack of investment. We've pointed at overcharging for consumers, overcharging for airlines, a lack of marketing support for airlines, and so many other issues. But they've been ignored. Now, the Welsh Government could no longer take a failure from its own airport. It's its capital city airport. So something had to give. What's given is that the Welsh Government has attempted now, and I believe that they will succeed, in something that's become very, very unusual in the UK now. It's going to buy the airport, effectively nationalising it. Actually, it's fallen a little bit of these nationalisations because Albertis is already Sylvia nationalised for much the same reason, overcharging and lack of investment.
Okay,
So
Peter, we've had a little bit of audio drop here, so just to be certain that we've gotten everything right. Basically, Albertis has come in, and what was once a 2.1 million passenger airport has fallen dramatically, and now the Welsh Government is about to, in effect, nationalise it. Now, tell me a little bit about where a lot of those passengers have gone to. Yes, we've lost some in the economy, but people still have had to travel. So if you've gone from 2.1 to, I think the last figure I saw was 1.2 million passengers, where did they go?
Well, it fell below 1.2 in last year's figures. Substantially, about 30% of the Welsh market has been going to a rival airport, Bristol Airport, which, although it's maybe another hour and a half away for the average Welsh traveller and really quite difficult to get to, it has the support of a couple of Europe's leading low-cost carriers. That's EasyJet and Ryanair. And prices are really keen there. Equally, they're able to offer a range of destinations that Cardiff now looks as though it will never achieve.
Well, and has it also not been the fact that you've seen a number of carriers just fall by the wayside? I mean, I can remember I myself have also been forced to, when I have to travel, go to Heathrow or to Bristol. But, there was a time when there were 4 or 5 scheduled airlines here, were there not? Tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Okay, there were, for example, one of the long-haul airlines was an airline called Zoom that operated, it was a Scottish-owned airline that operated to Canada, serving from Cardiff to... That company went broke. It was not the only company in the field. There were others that could have operated from Cardiff to replace it. And the load factors and pricing from Cardiff actually did appear to sustain the opportunity to keep operating those routes. But you're dealing with Albertis, who don't want to invest in such a thing. So the amount of trouble that they went to and the amount of negotiation that they went to regain Canadian services was minimal. Then we saw the demise of BMI Baby.
Right.
To my mind, was very sad because it was the kind of love child of BMI and BMI Regional, and never really received the focus of that airline. When BMI was sold ultimately to British Airways, it decided to sell off BMI Baby as basically a garage sale, just to dump it. And so it's now shut. That airline has, in fact, been substantially replaced by a Spanish low-cost carrier called Vueling. Mm-hmm. They're doing quite a good job in building up some of the Mediterranean flights again from Cardiff. What we're, I suppose, not seeing is a build-up of routes to Eastern Europe or other that one would have expected to get replaced. There are, of course, some talks about other airlines coming in right now, and one can only keep one's fingers crossed. But it will take a more investment and marketing orientated management company to actually get the job done.
Well, I mean, and you've also, got some fairly serious issues about the size of the airport, the access to and from the airport, as well as amenities and facilities around it. Is that also not a major issue for them to consider?
I think that the access issue is a little out of line because, quite frankly, Bristol has far worse access issues. If Cardiff had the kind of passengers that it had 4 or 5 years ago and was looking like growing, I believe that the Welsh Government would put such infrastructure in place. But right now, at 1.1 million passengers, there's no call for an increase in infrastructure investment there. Particularly in passengers, without such investment. And Cardiff's on 1 million, or 1.1, that's ludicrous. Why put the money in?
Yeah, and it just seems so strange because so many other airports are growing at fairly substantial rates. It's even in this market, it just seems a rather strange turn of events that we find ourselves stuck with, an airport that can't seem to get out of its own way, and now it's going to be controlled by the government. Our only hope is if they turn around and actually let the people, bring in people that are business people that know how to run an airport and that they actually do the type of work that needs to be done.
Absolutely agree. Dennis, I'm not a natural supporter of nationalism. Of nationalisation. That doesn't sit very well on my shoulders as somebody who's been in business, all his life. On the other hand, I see no alternative in terms of Cardiff. The only way to turn this around is for the Welsh Government to purchase it at a price that they can agree with Albertis, and I hope that's not more than 50 million, although they may have paid about 140, 150 million for it. Then I'd like to see the government orchestrate a path back to the private sector, but one that's followed after there is the airport shareholders and the community that it serves. That's what has been missing with Albertis. Albertis did not give a moment's thought to the Welsh Government, to the Welsh community. And they've ended up with what they deserved, an ailing airport. It's not the only airport that they've been doing that with. It's been happening around the world. Very sad situation. There are some very good, very professional companies out there that really should get involved now.
Well, it's something that we're going to have to be watching over the next several months or year to come. Peter Phillips, thank you for joining us here on Worldview. Tell us how we find the Wales Air Network if people want to join and follow along.
Just Google for it. It'll come out at the top, Wales Air Network.
Wales Air Network. Okay, thank you. We've been talking to Peter Phillips, who's the head of Wales Air Network, a networking group as well as a political force here, about the sad state of affairs right now at Cardiff Airport. And hopefully we'll get him back on once we do have an actual sale and things move forward. Thank you again. You're watching Worldview with Denis Campbell. We'll be back after this.